So then I heard that JetBlue Flight 504, which was supposed to land at LaGuardia, I believe, from Fort Lauderdale, got rerouted to Bradley International Airport, which is our local airport, a place I've spent many, many hours delayed waiting for flights to leave. And it was like a standoff flight from hell. It was a disaster. They landed, and I think they spent 7 hours sitting on the plane. They couldn't get, apparently, a tug and a tow bar to bring them to a gate or get a bus to get passengers off. They ran out of water. They ran out of snacks. They ended up having to lock the bathrooms. We won't go into the details of why, but I think you can imagine. And my question on this is, well, it's twofold. Number one, why didn't, I mean, what would you have done on this flight if you were on this flight, Lewis? Let's say after 3 hours, what would you do? There's
no way I would have let this happen. I mean, when the water ran out and the food ran out, I probably would have just raised a mutiny and done anything possible to get everyone off the plane.
Wouldn't you have ended up arrested? I mean, what would you actually have done?
That's fine. I really don't care.
Okay, yeah.
I would if need be, I would have seriously hurt the flight staff if they wouldn't do anything possible to get us off the plane.
Who are you? What are you talking about?
Who am I? What the hell are you talking about, Dave? You would sit on a plane for 7 hours with no water, just sit there and twiddle your thumbs and do what you were told?
Let me hear from Natan, then I'll tell you what I would do.
I think Lewis is right. Getting arrested, you get 3 hot meals, you have heat, you have a bed. It's way better than being on a plane for 7 hours without food and water.
I just don't really think your brain can wrap itself around this disaster. I mean, do you have any idea how bad this is?
Here's what I would have done. I would have, my first step, if it didn't look like anything was going to happen, was going to be, and you know what? I may be speaking out of turn here because there was, I think, a diabetic on the flight. There was a quadriplegic. These people needed to get off, and they didn't get off, okay? The pilot was saying, we have the audio. The pilot was saying, I've got these people with medical needs. We need to get them off. So maybe this wouldn't have worked. But did anyone think to call 911 and say we are being held here in a way that is against the flyer's Bill of Rights, which mandates no more than 3 hours on a plane without being able to go back to the gate? And you need to get us off right now because it's becoming a dangerous situation. You need to get us off now. Maybe somebody thought of that, and the police said we can't do anything.
Is someone being held liable now? Are there any lawsuits?
Okay, so here's the question. That's the part two. The Flyers Bill of Rights says that if you hold passengers on these flights longer than 3 hours on the plane, you're subject to up to a $27,500 fine per passenger, okay? So I think we're talking about $2.75 million here, potentially. There were about 100 people on board. Will they end up having to pay that? I really doubt it. I think that there's going to be, if there's an investigation, which there is, and there's a hearing, it will be determined, the airline is blaming the airport. The airline was bugging them time after time to get them a gate or get them buses. The airport will say this was an unforeseen circumstance. There was a weather thing. It's really not our fault. We didn't have the resources. I don't know if I buy that. I mean, they knew, yes, Bradley Airport may not have known that they were going to be the backup airport for a lot of flights going into New York as the storm moved north from New York to Hartford. However, we knew about the storm. We knew about the storm days ahead of time. So can we really say it's just no one's fault? No one needs to pay when the law is very clear.
I mean, as far as I know, there are no exceptions to these rules in the bill, right?
That's my understanding.
So don't tell me that there's no possible way that these people could have gotten off the plane and gotten to the airport.
Would you have just tried to open? Here's the thing: the plane, and you can see here, is not the type of plane where when you open the door, the main door, there's stairs that come off of it, right? So you're basically, what is that, 15 feet up? I mean, how do you get off? Would you have forced the door open? Then you've got to jump down. You'll probably break your legs.
There's a way. There's always a way. You could use jackets. You could use clothing as some way to lower you down.
So you would risk breaking your legs and arrest. I understand it's 7 hours. I get it. But I'm saying you could really
get off that plane without getting hurt.
You think so?
But I think someone less agile would obviously not be able to.
The quadriplegic wouldn't be able to.
Right. And I believe that there are emergency devices such as those inflatable slides.
You would deploy that.
Why not?
Do you know how? Would the flight attendant let you, or would the crew probably tackle you before you do that?
I would make them.
Okay, let's listen to a little bit of the audio here. I don't know. You tell me if you think Lewis is being reasonable here. I agree. I would have taken action.
I'd like to talk to someone on that plane. I bet you they'll agree with me and in hindsight wish they could have done something like that.
Let's listen to this audio.
504. November 504, Roger. If you try to come on with a jetway now and flash the trooper's uniform on this plane, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty. They've calmed down a little bit. I told them we're waiting for the gate. We're just waiting for a tug and a tow bar, and it's only a matter of seconds. So, I tell you, do not bring anybody on board this plane. You're not going to open the door, so don't even put the air stairs up there. Okay, Roger that. Be worse, bud. I appreciate your efforts, but it'll be worse if you try to put a trooper on here right now.
You know what's going on, guys? They're having issues with the tug over on the gate, so just bear with us, and we'll get you over there, I promise.
All right, thanks. Tell those guys to move that jetway, that the air stairs away from the plane.
So I guess people seeing there were air stairs nearby and people started to think they might get off, and the pilot's actually saying, move those away because people are going crazy. I don't know. It's a bad situation. I hope that it's dealt with appropriately. The question is, who do you blame? Do you blame JetBlue? The pilots were asking for the resources that they needed, air stairs or a jetway and a tug. I don't know. Who do you blame?
I don't think you can blame the flight staff. I think it's easy to blame JetBlue.
JetBlue should have called ahead and said, we need a gate. We need this.
Or just not put people on this plane at all when there's a storm so close.
They left from Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, so you're saying the flight should have been canceled. They never should have left.
That would have been the absolute safest thing to do.
I guess. Maybe. I don't know. You say that now, but if you're the person who says, just get me home, get me nearby, then I'll just drive from Bradley if I have to. I'll drive from Bradley down to New York. Right? I mean, you would want that. If you're coming back from Fort Lauderdale, you would want that too. You would want them to say, if we can get down somewhere in the vicinity of New York, let's do it.
Right.
So I think you're being a little silly by saying they should have never left. If you were at Fort Lauderdale waiting to come home, you would want them to go and try to get you.
If I were a passenger, Dave, but what if I were working for the airline? What if I were responsible for that entire plane of people?
I'm sure the airline did call as soon as they said they have to divert to Bradley and said, can you get us a gate? We're going there. I'm sure they did, right? What choice do they have? Once you're up in the air, there's weather. I don't know. I don't know whose fault this is, but what I'm saying is there has to be a way to get people off the plane in less than 7 hours, in less than 3 hours, really.
That was one of the first things I said. Don't tell me there's absolutely no way they could have gotten the people off the plane.